الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر.
Firstly, within these specific verses, Allah Almighty has clearly established and stated the legal command regarding retribution, explaining how justice should be properly served in such cases. Determining what exactly the murderer's punishment should be in this worldly life is a matter that is governed by a completely different set of laws in every individual country around the entire globe. In many places, it is simply life imprisonment. In some, though very few countries, there is still hanging. But even then, the state alone holds the absolute power to hang the criminal or not, or even to set them free. What a truly beautiful command Islam has given us, for it is the religion of nature that aligns perfectly with the innate instincts of all humanity. Islam says that whoever kills a person, look, I often mention one thing in my talks, these secular governments often act in ways that end up taking away the rights of the individuals. They ultimately end up turning ordinary people into the mere slaves of their fellow human beings and rulers. Almighty God liberates humans from the oppressive slavery of other humans. However, these secular people simply create their own man-made laws and then proceed to forcefully impose them upon the entire society. They enforce them strictly, and as a result, we become slaves to these governments. Essentially, all the fundamental rights in these nations end up belonging exclusively to the state rather than people. What then is the core philosophy of Islam? It is the belief that the one and only true master of everything in existence is solely the divine being of Allah. The divine laws that He establishes for us are formulated primarily to protect and uphold the individual rights of every person in our society. That is to say, they exist to protect the mutual rights people owe to one another. For instance, please consider this specific example to understand the point clearly. Let us suppose, for example, that a person named Zaid killed Bakr. State laws vary significantly across the entire world. Some mandate 10 years or perhaps 14 years in prison for this crime. But what does the religion of Islam actually say about it? When Zaid killed Bakr, who was the one who actually suffered the loss? Bakr did. Bakr cannot return to life now. Therefore, Allah Himself will seek justice for him on Judgment Day. On that final day, Bakr can choose to have Zaid cast into hell for his crime or mercifully choose to forgive him completely. But another significant loss occurred, that of Bakr's family. Bakr had a wife, sons, daughters, and many relatives. So, tell me, who was it that suffered the actual tangible loss here? The secular state is not permitted by divine law to simply step in and forgive the murderer on behalf of those family members who have actually suffered the physical and emotional loss of their loved one. The fundamental right to seek retribution or forgiveness belongs solely to them. As the Quran states, we have indeed given his legal heir the authority to decide the fate of the killer. To those relatives whose hearts are burning with the intense fire of revenge, Allah states clearly, we give you the legal power and authority to execute the killer if that is what you decide, or choose to accept blood money and let him go. This right belongs specifically to the victim's family, not the government. So tell me, in the system of Islam, are the rights of the government greater or the rights of individual humans? Speak up, because the government's role is merely one of management, to ensure that people are fulfilling the rights of others or not, that individuals are indeed honoring human rights or not. Thus, the government's role is this. Its role is to catch the killer, prevent their escape, and then hand them over to the victim's heirs. You then decide what to do. You can either have them beheaded or grant them a pardon. If they say forgive, release them instantly. If they say behead, then execute them. In Saudi Arabia, while this law of qisas was fully implemented, and perhaps it still is, within just a single week, the convicted killer would be executed. So, what is this specific law called? It is the law of qisas. Are you following this point and understanding the logic? It's the headache of those who suffered the loss, whether to forgive or let them go. It's not the government's business. Governments have interfered in everything, haven't they? Like you cannot marry off a girl under 18. Once children are mature, it is a private matter between the girl and her father. This modern system is slavery, but in Islam there is true freedom for the family. Second, a free man for a free man. In another place in Allah's command regarding qisas, and remember that qisas is not just about a life for a life, He explains that if someone has harmed you, has gouged out your eye, then it's an eye for an eye. What will the government do? Is there any law in the world where if someone intentionally blinds you, they are blinded in return? Is there such a law? The one whose eye was gouged is ruined for life. If they lost both eyes, they have become blind forever. You can keep throwing the culprit in jail, but while he is in jail, the fire of revenge continues burning inside the victim, who feels, You have blinded me and ruined my sight. Will the fire of his revenge ever be cooled by just a prison sentence? Tell me, folks, I feel like you aren't fully understanding. You also look quite tired from the long Taraweeh prayers. I am certainly tired too. But ask yourself, did he really get his rightful justice just by putting the offender in jail? And even within that jail system itself, there are dozens of problems. Every country has its own specific set of laws. In fact, looking at the insurance system in the world today, this widespread insurance system has truly caused total destruction of moral responsibility. In many countries, the situation is like this. If you steal someone's property, it is seen as no big deal. The police simply tell the victim, just go and claim your loss from the insurance. Why are you wasting your time trying to catch the thief? I have seen this with my own eyes. I am not joking. Insurance, which is essentially a form of gambling, is a foul system that has been imposed upon many different crimes. The police don't even get involved. They say, brother, compensate your losses by claiming from the insurance company. Just let it go. Don't waste time. This is what's happening. The question remains, what is the just retribution for an eye under the laws of Islam? For an eye, Islam says this, the Quran says this, and the Quran says we gave the same command to the Jews in the Torah. That's how we know about the Bible. This command from the Torah and all previous divine books is rooted in absolute justice. If someone blinds your eye, Islam gives you the specific right, the right that you may also destroy their eye. The state's primary duty is to catch the culprit and then ask the victim whether the offender's eye should be destroyed in kind or if blood money should be taken as financial compensation. If he says, no, I want you to blind the one who blinded me, then that person shall be blinded. The legal jurists have already detailed the precise methods in their books on this, according to the various medical and legal methods that were prevalent at that time. Do you understand? And we ordained for them therein, a life for a life, as it is stated, an eye for an eye, life for life, eye for eye, and a tooth for a tooth, which means tooth for tooth. Such is the level of precise and absolute justice in Islam. Here governments get involved saying we will legislate. Brother, the one whose tooth was broken has lost a tooth. He has the right. You do not need complicated legal formalities or long trials. He has the primary right to have the culprit's tooth broken in return or to choose to forgive him out of mercy or accept blood money. He can fully forgive, take compensation, or have the tooth broken. An eye for an eye, an ear for an ear, a nose for a nose, and for wounds there is legal retribution, meaning a wound for a wound. So in this worldly life, whenever a mere human being attempts to make the law, then all authority goes to other humans who act like they are our fathers. They will tell us whether we are allowed to marry before 18 or only after 18 years have passed. That is precisely why Islam says this man-made system won't do. I gave examples of 18 years and judicial divorce, but otherwise you should know that these are all just different ways, different forms of human slavery. Your true freedom is being snatched away, yet they still insist on calling it freedom. Real true freedom exists only in the religion of Islam. Allah ordained the law of retribution for us. However, our local liberals and various global liberals often come and talk about how this system works in the modern world. So many countries today don't have hanging as a punishment. Hanging is inherently cruel because it strangles the throat. In Islam, the great benefit of using the sword for execution is that the killer suffers the least amount of pain possible. The neck is severed in a flash and it is over immediately with no pain. But here they hang him and he dies slowly. The tongue hangs out. Furthermore, in Islam, retribution is public, not behind closed doors. What is the benefit of it being public? Many people will urge the victim's heirs for mercy. The surrounding crowd will encourage them, saying things like, brother, let it go for the sake of Allah and move on. Just let it go and forgive him now. So in 80% of such cases, it actually happens that they choose to forgive. This is the immense benefit of doing it in public view. Now for point number 2, what is the second benefit? If he is executed, the whole world will witness the punishment and will sincerely fear killing any other human being in the future because of the consequences. But what happens in man-made laws? For one thing, they usually choose to hang the convicted murderer in private. A person dies in such terrible agony by strangulation that the tongue hangs out. That is exactly why they put a mask on his face and perform this execution behind strictly closed doors, so that no one watching feels any pity for him. And they do it in a small closed room, right? It is a completely foul and filthy system of justice. And it is problematic. So Allah declared that many such foolish people will come into the world and argue against the commands of Islam, claiming that if a person like Zaid kills someone like Bakr, then killing Zaid in return is an act of unnecessary violence. Then Bakr's heirs have the right to behead Zaid. Many self-proclaimed intellectuals will come and argue that since one human has already been killed now, and now you are doing exactly the same thing to him, killing another person in return. They will say this makes no sense at all. The law should be to save lives, and he is also a human. So Allah declared clearly in the Quran, there is indeed a true life for you in the application of the law of retribution, which seems contradictory. One person's head is taken, but through that action, thousands of other lives are saved. People will think 100 times before ever committing this crime, or else this wretch would simply kill again. So, for this very important reason, Allah has declared to all of mankind that in the practice of retribution, there is actually life for you and the survival of your entire society.